Okay, let's do it. Bonjour everybody, how are you doing? This is Lya Pouleyy. Welcome to BRL, Blessing Our Lesson, episode number 8. So, today I'm having a very special person. Before telling her name and her story, let me tell you, just in case you forgot, I'm Lya Pouleyy, your wellness creative coach. I help you feeling better. I help you in your wellness journey. I help you finding the light inside you and around you through arts and craft, dance and body movement, modeling and self-confidence, self-love, body image, and self-esteem, and also some good cooking. So you have my Instagram, lyapouleyy.com, my website, www.lyapouleyy.com. Is that? Yes, it is. And my email, contact@lyapouleyy.com. But you have all of those informations and the links below. So please don't forget to give me some thumbs up. You can DM me, please comment, please share, please subscribe. It gives me like a lot of motivations to keep doing it because I really enjoy that. And every week I'm so happy having a lot of people sharing who wants to be a part of it, who wants to have their voices heard. And I'm so happy and so blessed that you guys are like more and more to be a part of this show, if I can say so. So, enough about me. Today we're having a very special someone for me. She is an amazing woman. She is a CEO, a business owner. Whoop whoop. Her name is Kate. She has a French accent like me. So yeah, she's from France, and I met her 6 years ago when she moved in New York, and I moved in New York 6 years ago too. So we met at this time, and ever since we are like sisters. I love her so much, and to tell you guys, I'm very honored today that she's here with me because she's one of the very first person who always like told me, who always pushed me to do a podcast, a YouTube channel. She always believed in me. She always believed in my Cam Gagné method. She always pushed me to do that. She was like, yeah, everything else that you're doing is great, but people need you. People need to hear you. People need to be helped by you. You are a special person, and I truly believe in what you're doing. So that's a big honor to have her today.
Oh, thank you.
And I feel so special, and I'm so happy that she's gonna share her story. That's so amazing. So I'm gonna stop talking, and I'm gonna let my dear Kate explaining her blessing or her lesson and how creativity, art, self-love helped her in her journey in New York.
Thank you so much. First of all, this is very touching and unexpected. Hi everyone. So I'm very excited. I'm very happy to be here with you guys, and today really feels special. I'm so glad to be here and to share my story with you. Not that I ever thought I would disclose my story publicly, but I believe this is a very important topic, and it's something everybody, must talk about. Communication is very important. So this is for all the people out there going through a hard time, through a toxic relationship, or anything else, anything where you might feel trapped, depressed, unconfident, or simply not at peace with yourself. So yeah, Lya, you have to do a lot with this. You really helped me, you pushed me, and I will give you more details in a little bit. But I want to share with you my story and what I've done to save myself from a bad emotional and physical condition I was in. So let me start from the beginning so you understand a little bit where I come from and what's the situation here. 5 years ago, I met this guy. I fell in love at first sight, right? So he was older. He had an amazing presence, a lot of charisma. He was the sweetest guy I ever met. He was very smart and just a real dude, a real man. Perfect combination, everything I always looked for. So I became very quickly addicted to him. He was my everything. He was my love, my life. I would have done anything for this guy, including being his prisoner. The truth is, he never really wanted a relationship, and he did not love me the way I did. Not with all his heart and soul the way I did. But somehow, he manipulated me to stay at his own convenience. We were together for 4 years. I was able to stay with him just because he provided me a lot of love in some way. He was here for me. He said he loved me. He kept on saying and using those words, I love you, I love you, I love you. So I stayed with him for so long, but he had big issues. One of his biggest issues was alcohol. So he was a heavy drinker. He could leave me at night, all night, from 10 p.m. to 10 a.m. That wasn't a problem for him. He had me go through intense emotional disturbance, saying he loved me so much on his way out with the intention of not coming back until early morning and of course not answering his phone all night. Once he came back at 9 a.m. leaving me with this terrible feeling he had had an accident and maybe died. So he kept on saying he loved me so much, but he would never marry anyone, and also he would never live with anyone more than a couple of years. So I already knew that this was going nowhere, but I was addicted. I can't explain it, it was just a feeling. I was deadly in love with him. Why? Well, I guess, that's maybe another story. Before him, I used to be a pretty and vibrant person. He destroyed me. This relationship, I would say, destroyed me. I'm not gonna say it's his fault. There's always, fault on both parts. So I take responsibility for what happened to me. But before that, I was always joking. I was always trying to look at my best. My appearance was very important for me. I loved to do my makeup in the morning. I was confident with myself and I was very independent as well. I needed no one to tell me what to do or not to do. With this guy, I have to say I lost all my confidence. He always put a lot of pressure on me. For example, he used to be out all night. Of course, I couldn't ask any question. He always had certain excuses, but when it came to me, if I was out, then it would be a problem. He was so smart. He would have a way to manipulate me, so he would just put pressure on me. If I would go out, he would say, oh, you've been out, okay, I hope you had fun, and then he wouldn't really talk to me for 2 days, so he would be very cold. So it was very subtle and very smart from him because there was never an argument there. He was never trying to create an argument, but it was manipulation by not talking to me or being cold or just disappear even more the next day, disappear for longer, for example. So then I had all the time to cry and all the time to ask myself, what did I do wrong? But then if I would ask him, he would not answer and he would say, oh no, nothing is wrong. So he was pretty a psychopath, I can say.
Yes.
I could not go to regular business meeting. I had to invent tons of excuses, which made me feel even worse because I don't like to lie. But if I would tell him, oh, I gotta meet this architect or I have to meet this person for work, then I already knew the trauma. I already knew that he would put me to this mental state again of being cold and not really answering my questions or just saying, oh, nothing is wrong, but acting like everything is wrong. So it was very disturbing. It was just a mental control. He had control on my head and my headspace. He was literally making me feel either really good or really bad, and he was in control on my mood, my headspace. It was very bad. I ended up drinking myself. I ended up drinking a lot, and I became, I can say, alcoholic because I need my alcohol every day. That was my way of coping with it, especially because he used to leave me not every night, but I would say 4 nights a week. So I ended up using alcohol as a mean of coping with this trauma and with this insecurity and with the sadness. So yeah, it was pretty intense. I'm having difficulty to explain everything because I think I went through trauma actually. He changed me so much that I blocked him from my head. So it's the first time I'm speaking about him, and it just brings back some memories. I feel like some memories have been erased. The only thing I can say is that it was so bad that all my friends was alerted. All my friends said something is really wrong, and maybe you should even, go back to France for a little bit, just because I was so down. I mentioned that I wanted to end my life, and I ended up sleeping in front of a church one night after drinking heavily. I'm laughing about it now because it's pretty hilarious when you think about it. I mean, it's so far from who I am.
Thank God.
Yes, it's very far from who I am. I mean, I'm pretty strong to start with. He had this way of manipulating me. I'm even surprised of myself now that I look back at the situation, but definitely made me lose a lot of confidence, self-love. I didn't love myself anymore. I didn't dress up anymore. I was afraid of looking at men in the street. I even felt like maybe he wouldn't know. He had some spiritual guidance. He was involved in certain spiritual practice. So I was even afraid when he wasn't near me that perhaps he could know if I'm speaking with someone. So that was really, really, really hard. There was a lot of pressure on a daily basis.
Yes.
So, yeah, I mean, this toxic relationship experience brought a lot of negativity in me. I changed completely. And again, I'm not saying it's only on him. I'm guilty myself for being enrolled in this craziness and for allowing myself to accept way more than I should have ever accepted.
Yeah, of course you have your part of responsibility, but you were way younger than him. You were younger.
Yeah.
You weren't even 25 when you met him.
It's a very good point you're making.
Yes, so he knew how to manipulate you because he was a predator. And also, New York is not your city. Like, you came alone here, So New York is his home. At the time when you moved there, you just kind of had him and nobody else. So it was easier for him to shelter you. So you cannot just put all the blames on you. Not all the blames on you, but there are reasons why you were the way you were,
Yeah, I think you're really true. I tend to forget. Like I said, I went through so much to the point that I wanted to end my life, that I think I just blocked him. I resuscitate and I kind of blocked him from my mind. But Lya, you're so right. He was a lot older than me. He was clearly an adult, clearly established. He's from New York, and I was a young prey. I was an easy target.
Yeah.
I think that he went through a lot himself as a kid. He has trauma, and perhaps he grew up as becoming a little bit of a sociopath. And so he already knew. I want to mention one thing is that I wasn't the first prey. I knew his exes. I knew more than one actually, and they all have the very similar story to mine. So that's another thing that you should look up, in your relationship. Are you the only one, or is that a pattern that the other person is just reproducing? Because that might be a sign. That might be a sign of pathology, a mental illness from the other person, and you're just trapped because you're the target. And I think you're right, Lya. I was definitely a target. I was broken at the time. I was young. I was partying a lot. I was not in a very healthy environment before I met him. So I think I felt a little lost. I was very broken, and he came to kind of rescue me with his confidence, and he was older and telling me he loved me. But at the end, it was just the beginning of another trauma.
Yes. Oh yes. Oh yes.
So yeah, talking about him, when I started dating him, everything was okay until he gained confidence with me and he knew that I was all over him. I think after a few months, it was pretty clear that I was all over him.
Yes, oh yes.
And I think when you're a sociopath, that's what you want. You want a slave, right? You want someone that you can literally manipulate the way you want. You can say whatever you want and that person will always love you, and that was me. I was constantly afraid of his judgment because he was very judgmental. Once again, he had a way of doing it that was very smart. He wouldn't come at me and use bad words. He never cursed at me. He never even screamed at me. He was very smart, but he would make me understand. So I was constantly afraid. I was afraid at looking at other people in the street, and I slowly put myself in a bubble. I slowly started to isolate myself even from my own friends, and to the point that, yeah, I didn't even want to dress. My family said, you know, you're dressing like a bum. That's what my family used to tell me. And the last year that I was with him, I stayed 4 years. So the third year, I started looking pretty bad from not sleeping, from sleep deprived, and from alcohol consumption, and from stress. So I work in a family business, and my uncle who I work with mentioned that I look like a crackhead and that I was maybe using hard drugs, so he made me do a drug test. That's how bad I looked, and believe me, I wasn't using any drugs. I was just very depressed. So I just want to say that, yeah, when you look bad, you actually know you look bad. And when you walk down the street, no one is looking at you anymore. And that was hard for me because I used to be vibrant. I used to be pretty. People used to look at me. People used to smile at me. And then it's true that last year I realized something is wrong. I knew I was feeling bad, but I didn't know that actually I was reflecting it to the point that nobody was looking at me anymore.
And this woman is so beautiful, I'm telling you, people.
I'm not beautiful.
Yes, you are.
You are. I glow though. I used to glow. I don't know. And then I stopped glowing. Nobody was smiling at me anymore. And I could tell on people's face that I scared them. And that was horrible. When I started realizing, damn, I actually scare people in the street. I knew something was really wrong at that point. I just knew, but I did not have the strength to leave my situation. I didn't know what to do. So one of the first signs, you know, you're in a toxic relationship is when you start feeling that you're being used and abused. And if you feel sad most of the time, I would say, you know, question yourself. Is that right for you? Is that what you want? Is that what you deserve? If you feel like something is off but you're trapped, well, this might mean that it's not the right situation for you and it's not the right person for you. Relationship, whether it's friendship or love relationship, whether it's romantic or not, they're supposed to bring your spirit up and not down. That's something that took me a few years to understand, but thank God I understood.
Yes.
And if you think that you're down but you're still in love but you don't know why, and that you want to try and work on it, remember that both people have to first of all understand that something is wrong. If one person is happy and the other one is depressed, that means something is really wrong.
Yes.
The thought has to come from both parties, not just from one person. So that's the first thing. You have to first of all ask yourself, is the other person really wonder if something is wrong? Is the other person is sad like I am? Because, you know, if you guys are both sad, then perhaps you can work on the issue. But if one person is really happy and have it all and the other person is feeling miserable, then that's another sign that something is off with the person.
Yes, especially if the other doesn't care, seeing the person is supposed to be with not okay.
Exactly. If the other one does not want to compromise and make changes, you have to learn how to let go. And that's the truth. It's very hard to let go, especially when your heart and your head is involved, when you're attached to the person, when you're in love with the person. It's very hard to let go. But the only thing I can say now that I can look back and that I like I say, resuscitate from this state, there will be other doors that will open for you if you let them exist.
Yes, true.
Yes, so the breaking point was when I started realizing there's no more 40-60. I'm sad every day. And I'm sad all day until perhaps I have a little bit of comfort when I go home and I see him until he goes away again, right? So to give you a little bit more details, in January last year, that's when I started feeling sad and just sadness, a lot of sadness every day. There was no more joy anymore. Then one night I went out with my friends and I had a few cocktails and I cried my eyes out. I just cried and cried and cried until the waiter has to take me out of the restaurant. They told me, they say, you know, you can leave your friend like that. But honestly, I give them justice, you know. I was doing bad advertisement. I was a disaster. I was really crying out loud. So after that, I realized, you know, I gotta do something. And once again, I didn't know what to do. So I went to church. Why? Because I was born a Catholic. So I, you know, that's the only thing I know, the only house that I know that would bring me as close as I could to God. So I went to church and I prayed for myself for the first time. I told God, I remember I was on my knees. I was very desperate. I was on my knees and I was almost crying and I said, God, you gotta help me because I do not know what to do and I cannot help myself because I'm just too fragile, and I have to admit I was very weak. And I said, send me a sign, and if you love me and if you think I'm worth being on earth, then help me, and if it's not worth for me to be on earth, then I'll accept it. But I said, you know, at least I'm asking you and show me the way, show me the path. Next thing I remember is actually a couple of weeks, you know, after that I started thinking I gotta do something, but nothing was coming to me. And Lya was in my life, thank God. She showed me the path. One day, you know, she was just here for me all the time. She takes the time for her friends. That's something I really admire about her. She takes the time. She speaks. She goes in detail. She's not afraid of breaking through the ice. And one day she told me, come with me to this exhibition. So we went there and we went to some kind of a talk show. And I went there and I sat next to her and what was it again?
That was like the Tribeca Festival.
The Tribeca Festival. It was the Tribeca Festival. And they were talking about a movie and
Questlove was talking.
And it was really nice. It was very inspiring actually. Just even sitting here and hearing the stories about these people that became successful and what they did with the movie, and so they were talking and the room was pretty silent. All I remember is that suddenly she took my hand. She must have seen on my face I wasn't feeling too well, and I started crying, and she just took me in her arm and she let me cry, and for me that was really special. And nobody did that for me actually before. Nobody took me in their arms for that long and let me cry until I stopped crying.
Because I love you.
It's beautiful, you know. I feel you know, it's a lot. It's a lot of memory. But so since that moment, I have to say that for some reason, just the fact that I could cry in my friend's arm, I felt a lot better. You freed me from something that night. And I think that you saw that I needed help, so you were there for me the next day and you said, listen, we're gonna do something. You didn't let me go home and just say, I'm here for you, but don't worry, things will get better. No, you actually took action and you became some kind of mentor to me. You pushed me to use art again as a therapy, not directly, but you pushed me to paint and you pushed me to draw, you pushed me to dance. And I did it. I started dancing with you. I started painting on my own when I was home. I started reading again. I started just taking bath and putting on a face mask, trying to make me feel happy for a little bit at least, and it worked.
Yeah, well, you're a true artist, because what you guys don't know, she really wanted to study art, but her parents didn't want to. But she really has the artistic fiber, and I remember one day she showed me one of her paintings and she was like, yeah, I'm not as good as you. I'm like, whatever, we're not here to judge. And she showed me a painting and she told me she haven't painted in years. I was in shock. This girl, she can paint and she's really good.
You're
and
so
very
sweet.
creative.
That's not true.
That is
That's
true.
Not true. But
And
she makes me feel like
that
I'm
is
special.
true. And I remember she even showed me drawing she did on the airplane. She was on her way back to France for a couple of weeks and she had a dream and she was able to draw her dreams, and that was very impressive. Very, very.
Thank you, sweetie. That means a lot, especially coming from you, a true artist. That means a lot. But yeah, you were definitely the one and only person that was able to find the words and was able to find the right, actually, therapy for me. So whether or not the artistic fiber was in me, it just opened my mind again to the word, and I just started using colors as therapy. Yeah, I started painting when I was by myself, putting my music really loud.
Yes.
And perhaps having my glass of wine and cry a little bit, but it was very therapeutic.
Yes.
And so I really want to thank you. I love you so much, and I thank you. I will never thank you enough because in some way you saved my life, and I'm not exaggerating. Like I said, I had thought about ending my life, so you really saved me, baby.
Thank you.
And I'm so grateful for having you in my life.
Likewise.
And I think, you are an amazing person that can give a lot to people. You have that in you, and that's why I'm so happy. I'm so proud you just started doing these videos. I'm sure it's helping a lot of people.
Thank you.
Communication is the key. And you know how to use the mean to save people.
Thank you.
Yeah, you get me into art in general. And like I said, I started painting and drawing, which was a great mental escape. Lya, you came to me one day and you mentioned that I should model for fun, for myself. And I thought, no way, I'm not a model and I can't model. I don't look like a model.
You do.
But you showed me that there's different kind of models, and that's also something really important that everybody should know. Modeling is not about being on a runway show and modeling for big brands. Modeling is accessible, actually.
Yes.
And you can be, for example, a body part model. You can pose for advertisement. You can pose for different kind of portfolios, for books, etc. There's a lot of options out there, and modeling doesn't mean you have to be fit, you have to have certain features. No, there's different characters that people look for, especially when it comes to advertisement or when it comes to modeling for maybe certain acting role. So you actually helped me to discover this entire industry, which I thought was not accessible. And I did not even know that I could do it if I wanted. So that was a big plus. I rested on it for a bit, and then one day I decided, I have nothing to lose anyway. And at that point, right? Because I was anyway trying to save myself. So I did it, and you were an amazing support. You pushed me to overcome my fear of being seen again by the world. Doing a photo shoot is not that easy. The first one was pretty impressive. I was shaking, I was sweating, I didn't know how to act, and I was really intimidated, but you really pushed me. You were truly behind my back, and you were so sweet. You were encouraging me all the time. We even do private photo shoots just together, for me to kind of feel comfortable with the camera, and that really helped me. So you have me being in front of the spotlight and having eyes on me, which I didn't want to have because of my ex especially. He really put me down, and he felt like I shouldn't be seen and nobody should look at me because that was bad. So that was one of the manipulations that I was trapped in. And I started thinking, nobody should look at me. I didn't want to be in front of pictures. Even with my friends and family, I didn't want to be in pictures anymore. So modeling really, when I started modeling, it really made me feel special again, and it made me feel alive, at least for a few hours. And I would have never thought I could do it. Looking back, modeling was my true remedy. It was my therapy. It was my rehab, as I call it. Yeah, I learned a lot.
That's great.